Hey folks, it's Rudi from East Coast Sun. I am here with the CEO and President of MB Power, Lori Clark, and Brad Coady. And I'm glad you guys tuned in. I'm going to go around. You guys know who I am, I hope. And I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. So go ahead, Lori.
Thanks, Rudi. Thanks for having me here today. Lori Clark, President and CEO of MB Power. I've been in this role 4 years as President and CEO, and with the utility for about 36 years.
Yeah, thanks, Rudi. I think this is going to be a great conversation. I'm Brad Coady, Chief Commercial Officer with MB Power. I've been in the role for about 3 years, been in utilities my whole life, like Lori as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming out. So we're just going to cruise through. Lori and I have exchanged some questions with each other over the last few weeks, so we didn't completely blindside each other. But since then, a little bit of a wrench has been thrown into things, and there has been a change to the net metering policy. And we're going to talk about that. And you brought Brad along, who's really, I've been chatting with Brad a little bit over the last few weeks, and he's very in tune. And we're going to arm wrestle over some policy ideas and look at it from a couple different lenses. So I'm going to hopefully not do all the talking, because I always do all the talking on my own stuff. Excuse me. And I'm going to capitalize on having you guys here and kind of see things from your lens. And I guess the goal, one of the goals, I like to try to look at things from the utilities perspective. And also I get to look at things from the consumers or the ratepayers perspective, because I deal with them every day. And then I get to sit from the off-grid perspective, which is interesting as well. So, excuse me.
And oftentimes we really don't get to talk about the perspectives we need to look at things at, right? So we have to look at things through each customer class perspective. And also keeping the utility healthy. So there's I'm glad to be here today and be able to talk about all of those different perspectives that we need to consider when we're making decisions, because oftentimes people don't understand some of the other things that have to come to the table when we're making decisions.
Yeah, 100%. People just know their power bills are high, right? They don't know what their kilowatt hours are high. They know their power bills are high. So that's something I really work at, is try to help people understand why their power bills are high. A ton of bad PR about smart meters. Those are the worst things ever. They put a smart meter on my house. Now my powers went through the roof. So you guys know how I feel about energy monitors, and we'll get to that. And I've been talking with government about getting those in every single house. And one thing, maybe before we start, and it's something we were talking about off the air, and I think the people watching should be very aware of it. You talk about government, and you talk about MB Power. From a lot of people's perspective, MB Power is government. Can you explain the difference?
Yeah, sure. So we are a Crown corporation, and we have a shareholder. The shareholder is the province of New Brunswick. So that is the sole shareholder of MB Power as a Crown corporation. But between government and the management team at MB Power is a board of directors. And that board of directors is the one that really has the interface with the government. So we don't talk a lot about the board of directors, but there is a board of directors that has shareholders agreement, mandate letters, those sorts of things with the province of New Brunswick. But ultimately, we are accountable to the province of New Brunswick as the sole shareholder of MB Power.
Do you like working with the government?
I do like working with the government. It's often difficult when governments change, because there's the new people coming in, and we sometimes need to start over, and it's a complicated business, and bringing people up to speed on some of the initiatives that we're working on without losing traction on the initiatives is sometimes difficult. But most people, I always say this, we're all trying to do the right thing for New Brunswickers, and sometimes how we go about it, the time it takes to get it done, those are some of the challenges sometimes that we don't all agree on.
So when someone comes in like a whole bunch of brand new, when you see someone campaigning and then they have a whole bunch of election promises, are you like, no, like you can't promise that? So then they have to come in and fight you on it? Or
yeah,
you
there's
have to
always a
explain
challenge when, and oftentimes it's once people understand the complexities, and it's easy to make promises on things, but I've never seen anyone who wouldn't change their mind when they see the full story. Most people make decisions with limited information. Yeah.
So in the last round, Susan Holt promised to remove the HST portion of the residential power bill, so that would be 10%. A lot of people don't realize, check your bills, folks, that you're actually missing 10% of the taxes off of that. So that happened.
Yeah, and I think it was hard for people to see that, because at the same time we put rates up 9.25%. So
Yeah.
then government takes the 10% off, and the homeowner doesn't see
They didn't feel it.
a lot. But what we were asked to do was to give solutions that could make that happen and to advise on the pros and cons of that. And one of the cons that we advised on was there are some people who would be getting that rebate that don't need it, that are in higher incomes, have large homes, and can afford to pay their bills. And they're
Right.
getting a benefit that lower income customers or customers that are struggling to pay their bills aren't getting as much, because it's based on the size of the bill.
So
So I think there are, and I know government's looking at other ways to do that too, which I think is important, that we make sure that it's some sort of a rebate that's actually helping those who need it the most.
So isn't there some controversy about that? Like the higher income earners are getting a rebate that they don't need. I think
Yeah.
David Kuhn talked about that. I
Yeah,
saw a
we
video or
raised that
something.
as one of the concerns, but I do know government implemented it because it was quick and easy to get in. We don't benefit from the HST on
Yeah, either
power
way, you
bills,
don't
right?
get
We
it.
don't get
The
it.
province gets
But
it.
it
Yeah.
does impact people's ability to pay their bills.
Oh,
15%.
100%.
So
Your name's on the bill where they're asking the bottom line is,
Yeah.
right? I actually didn't like that because I want your power rates to be higher because it makes solar make more sense. So every time you raise the rate, the phone rings on my end of things.
yeah.
Until
Can I
Brad
just go
introduced a
back
new
though to
policy.
something you said about power bills?
Yeah.
We do have some of the highest power bills in Canada. There's no doubt about that. We have the lowest rates, some of the lowest rates, like the third lowest rates in Canada. But it's the consumption. It is when you take the rate, doesn't matter how low it is, but when we're using the amount of electricity that New Brunswickers use, whether it's for heat, most of it is for heating, is where most of the load comes from. But because of the cold winters we have, and because of the high penetration of electric heat, that's why the bills in New Brunswick are as large as they are.
Yeah.
And sometimes higher than most jurisdictions.
So Alberta, what's it like in Alberta, Brad?
Pretty flat. Yeah.
Right. They have a flat load profile because they're heating with natural gas,
Right.
and we heat with hot water, heat or electric. Everything's electrified. We've kind of been pushed towards heat pumps, right?
Yep.
And baseboard heaters. And there's not a whole lot of those. They're usually there for the backup.
Right.
But and then electric water heaters, of course. And I assume in Alberta they're running natural gas water heaters, probably.
Yeah, I expect.
Yeah.
So-
Gas, you're on your range, your oven, your dryer, your hot water, and your heat. Everything west of the Ottawa River. That's how people do things in their homes.
Right.
In Quebec, New Brunswick, maybe a little bit of Newfoundland and Labrador, a lot of that is electrified. And so I guess in some ways we're ahead of the curve of where, some politicians want us to be. Net zero, you need to electrify everything. So we're a little bit ahead of the curve by circumstance, not by choice. But what Laurie's talking about is it digs deep into people's wallets on your electricity bill when everything is already electrified.
Yeah. I like to talk about your energy bill and then your electricity bill. So I live in a big home. It's a log home in the middle of the woods, and I've spoke about this before. My electricity bill, if I had a power bill, would be like $50 a month. And I've got everything that anyone else, even a hot tub. And those things can burn $130 a month if I put it in $1. So my energy bill, well, guess where I used to burn a tractor trailer load of firewood every year. Now I burn wood pellets. But that's an energy bill. And people in Alberta have a natural gas bill. And it's pretty affordable. I think if you convert that down to, per gigajoule or whatever they measure, a kilowatt hour, just some type of measurement of energy. So the fact that wherever everything's electrified here and it's all in one shot, you got to look at your consumption, like the kilowatt hours per month and, compared to everything else. And that's something that our population here in New Brunswick, we kind of suck at it. Like our energy literacy sucks. Now, everybody knows their power bill's $500.
Yeah.
How many kilowatt hours did you burn?
Yeah. What is a kilowatt hour?
What is a kilowatt hour, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I start with a lot of my customers and a lot of people. Like I'll get calls and they'll say, "Oh, I got a $1,000 power bill, so I want solar." So the first thing I say, you got to get an energy monitor. Like, where's it going? I don't know. Lori Clark and all her it's her big salary. Sorry.
Her bonus.
Her bonuses. Like it actually I don't know if you guys have seen some of the content I've put out there. So energy monitors, for anybody watching, if you haven't heard me talk about an energy monitor, we're going to talk about it for the next 3 hours. It's a third party meter, and we put it into your electrical panel, and it will measure how much money or kilowatt hours or energy or units that are going in and out from the grid. So you can fact check these evil smart meters, which I have done, because I would be the first one to whistle blow a smart meter if it wasn't working correctly. And I'm not saying that there's one out there that isn't working correctly, but I haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
So
And
anyway,
Measurement Canada hasn't either, so it's not just you
Measurement
that's looking,
Canada,
and
no.
Measurement Canada hasn't either.
so I actually think that people need to be accountable for the electricity that they're using. And I've yet to find someone who's using electricity that wasn't accounted for.
Yeah.
So these third-party meters are, and that may have been why, I've gotten your attention, because it almost looks like I'm defending smart meters, and I just want people to be accountable. And so I had a challenge going. If you're out there and you think your smart meter's not right, I will come to your house and I'll put an energy monitor on that has no affiliation with you guys, because you guys might be in cahoots with the smart meter company. I don't know, right? That's that you've seen it all. MB Power rants. So I'll come, we'll put an energy monitor on. If it's not within a few kilowatts at the end of the month, kilowatt hours at the end of the month, I'll pay twice your power bill, like out of my private sector pocket.
And take on MB Power.
Well, some people from MB Power have reached out and said, if you ever find a meter
Yeah.
and he said there's a fee, and I was like, I'll gladly pay that fee if I find one that's not right. So there is a theory that maybe the old mechanical meters would kind of decay over time, and when you swap that out, you're actually back on track where you should have been, and you were using way more power and getting a sweet deal. That doesn't mean people watching right now with mechanical meters they're all going to hide, because they get a special meter that they're not. That hasn't been swapped out yet. So anyway, that's the smart meters, as far as I can tell, are very accurate. And if they weren't, I would let you know for sure.
And I think, now that we have smart meters, it allows us to do other things. But as you said, knowledge is power for people. So the smart meters have allowed people, and then if they go the next step of putting an energy monitor on, it allows them to know where they're using the electricity. And we've seen people who didn't know or didn't understand how much a baseboard heater was using in their home. And people have changed their habits because of it, without having to be cold or without having to change the way they're living. They've just changed some of their habits.
Like I've had some content out there where I've, say this customer calls $1,000 power bill, and they put an energy monitor in. Well, they just cut their required solar size in half by spending. We have to charge $600 to install one of these, but we've got guys that'll do it themselves. They're $200 to $300. The issue I have is someone calls and they're out of money. They've spent all their money on their power bill, and then I want to charge them another $600 to install one of these so they can find out where their money's going. Right. It almost always pays for itself within months.
Right.
And so I've been advocating, as you know, to put smart meters, energy monitors in homes. And I don't think MB Power should do it. Yeah. And I don't think the province should do it, because I hate to say it, but nobody trusts these. They don't trust MB Power, and they don't trust the province. They do trust the private sector, but who's going to pay for it? Yeah,
we're actually looking internally. We have a literacy campaign, and we're also looking at our marketing campaign, and as you know, an energy efficiency department. So looking for ways that we might be able to subsidize those energy monitors for customers. But at the end of the day, we are using customers' money to do that, so it has to be something that's available to everyone.
I have an idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We can take it's the 27th of May, and we just lost our provincial generation. So we just lost our incentives for generating electricity for residential and commercial. It's actually the end of today, but by the time this airs, it'll be done. So, and that's because the Energy and Utility Board, and Brad, this is me echoing what you told me, wants to focus on energy saving, spend the money on energy saving versus energy generation.
That's correct.
So, and that's for commercial and residential. So, will that money be spent elsewhere, or can we use them for energy monitors? And now, just sorry to interrupt, that money is not coming from MB Power. So maybe you can speak about that too, right? Those incentives.
Yeah, so incentives can come back if governments figure it out. If Ottawa had more money to continue these incentives, we'd turn them back on tomorrow. But where we're at, that money was coming from ratepayers. And the UB says, no, if you're going to fund with ratepayer money, it has to go into energy savings, so air sealing, all the different things that we're doing, heat pump conversions, that kind of stuff is where the money needed to be spent. They weren't on for behind the meter generation solutions. And that's not like an opinion. Like, of course, if we could find another source of funding that was still in fair ball, we'd offer it to customers. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's trying to figure out how do we deliver programs to customers that leaves them in a better place, but doesn't also see cross-subsidization between customers either, right? So if I had solar, would it be right if you were paying part of my power bill? At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to get to, is to say, no, if Brad wants to invest in solar, well, so be it, Brad. Go get your solar, but I shouldn't have to pay for any of your bill either.
So where does the money come from for the Total Home Energy Savings Program?
For the most part, it's coming from federal and provincial government sources, and then there is some ratepayer money coming as well.
Yeah, because you mentioned it was some ratepayer money.
Correct. And
So
we went through
is it a percentage or?
Yeah, about $50 million comes from ratepayers today, and the rest would be coming from federal government and provincial government programming.
So
By
when you
far
say
and wide, the Enhanced Energy Savings Program, which isn't total savings, is coming from the provincial government today. A little bit of a top-up from the federal government as well in that.
So when you say $50 million, the ratepayers are injecting $50 million. This is our tax money?
This is our ratepayer money.
Okay, so it's coming out of
Bills.
our kilowatt hours.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for every kilowatt hour we pay, that money, so is funding the Total Home Energy Savings Program.
Right.
So
So
the tune of $50 million per what?
year.
Per year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the program's like 150 million.
Yeah.
Maybe? It's about a
So a third.
Yep.
And
So a third
some,
of our-
some years is over 200 million when you add up all the federal money, and we work very hard to figure out how do we get all the money off the table and into customers' homes.
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of summarize that because
Yeah.
I'm learning this too, right? So out of all the money that's been spent with the Total Home Energy Savings Program, and this is a program that we use for subsidizing solar, $200 per kilowatt, but it's also money that you get. It's $500 for a heat pump or $550. Heat pump water heaters on there. I've pushed for that forever.
Yeah.
Those things are cool. So all these things that we do, insulation, and I assume the energy audit is subsidized in there.
So that you're talking about a program, but it's the whole energy efficiency budget we're talking about.
Okay, the whole
Yeah,
budget.
because the enhanced energy savings program, where we have the free insulation, free air sealing, and heat pump for qualifying customers, is part of that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a third of it is actually coming from your power bills. And if I already have something, if my house is perfect and I'm not going to add anything else, then, if I had a power bill, it's going to be going, my money's being used to put solar on Brad's house. So
No, to be clear, like that's the program that's stopping right now. That's
right.
What
But, as of today or yesterday.
yeah.
Right.
So, and it's about there's a return on investment for all customers. So whether you participate or you don't participate, if you had the money to put new windows and insulation in your home, that's great. We try to make it easier for you to do that. But all customers have the ability to participate at the end of the day. The hardest to get to group of customers is renters, because often they don't own the building that they
Right.
live in.
Yeah.
And then often it's a conversation with landlords, and that gets very, very difficult. So we're
And they're
trying to
paying the
figure
power
out
bill.
we're trying to figure out ways to reach renters, and that's our really hard to get to segment. And Lori and her team has been working very hard to figure out how do we knock down those barriers.
Cool.
And just to go back to solar and the cross subsidization, typically the customers that can afford to put in solar will leave the system and put in solar, but they also want the utility for backup when the sun doesn't shine, or they're not all like you
a
and
good
off
deal.
grid. Yeah,
The net metering right now, until tomorrow. Well, no, until you get that proposal through, or, so it's a good deal.
yeah, but the problem is the customers that can't afford to leave are burdened by the other costs that those solar customers aren't bearing.
I would argue that everyone can really actually afford to leave, because you're either going to pay for your solar or you're going to pay your power bill until the new policy comes in, when I actually think it's going to decimate solar, but we'll get to that later. I 100% see what you're saying.
Yeah. And
So-
I guess that's just to go back to the first point I made. It's really important that we're looking at all customer classes, making sure that that there isn't any cross subsidization where the customers that can afford it are leaving, and the other customers that can't leave are bearing more costs. But also that the right groups of customers are paying for the services that they're getting.
So are we staying on track pretty good, or are we just giving
I
her?
think we're doing great.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay. You can ask me some questions. Like, we have some questions on here.
Well, I do have a question for you. What made
Yeah.
you decide to go off grid? Like, what was the incentive? Because it's hard work. I mean, it's complicated. You have to be into the details, and you say wood pellets, wood,
Yeah, I
solar,
like playing with that
generators.
stuff. So I guess I went off grid because I was for the freedom of it and the independence. So the saving money was it's a great feature, and I never there was a lot that I had to think about beforehand. One big thing was I'm 3 kilometers from the nearest power pole, and that was on purpose. I originally wanted to do a water turbine, actually, so I planted the house on a set of waterfalls and put some solar up, because it's the same infrastructure. I just need a different generator, right? So it's the substation. I have the substation now. I just need a different generator going in. So I still don't have my water turbine. Probably never will, because solar works so good. So it would have been, you guys might know off the top of your head, I got to run poles, cut trees for 3 kilometers in a straight line. How much is that going to cost? A lot.
Yeah. The first 90 meters is free.
The first 90 meters. So I got to go 3 kilometers. And then after you guys hook it up, is it free after?
No.
You bill me every month?
Yes.
Crap. So that was part of the decision making.
But it's a big capital investment in the front end.
I spent $25,000 at first,
Does your wife like it as much as you?
She doesn't even know she's off grid.
Oh, okay.
That's how good we've got it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, we wouldn't do it any other way. Like we run a generator less than somebody on the grid. So we track my younger brother actually lives a kilometer upstream. We live on 850 acres, and he lives off grid upstream. We have a competition, so you can run the peaker plant the least, right? So, and then we can compare the hour meter on the guy who lives at the head of the road. And actually, we always run less than the grid's down enough. Let's face it, when the grid's down, people just run their generators all the time anyway. But run time is actually less.
Yeah.
And I'm not encouraging people to do that, because like you said, we need, when someone calls me and they want to do off grid, there's compromises. I'm not going to have an electric car and charge it at home. You need 2. You have to have one to leave at home and then charge when it's sunny out, and the other one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's, and it's fuel, or heat. You got to take care of your heat and your hot water, and you've got 4 choices, and none of them are electric. You've got firewood, that's a lot of work. Wood pellets, which turns out to be like the rich man's firewood, or the lazy man's firewood, I call it. It's awesome. Like, that's a whole nother podcast right there. And then oil and propane, which we can't control the price of, and it's not local.
Right.
So, yeah, you can do it. And, there's definitely, as the rates go up, there'll be people that, I'm doing a few houses exactly like mine, and they just kind of want to isolate themselves from, the grid, because I'm really the guy to talk to do that stuff.
And can you set it and forget it? Is it like constant work to make sure that you've got the right fuel?
It's awesome.
Is it?
The wood pellet system that I have, you load it once and you walk away. And just like fulfilling your oil tank, it cleans itself. It starts itself. And I use my extra solar to heat my hot water. So right now it's sunny out. I'm heating water. I always say heating hot water. You're heating cold water.
Yeah.
So I call them opportunity loads. So the grid can work the same way. So I often you might hear myself say, "Oh, I'm running my own microgrid." Well, there's just it runs itself. And
are you selling any to your brother?
No. Oh, you might come over and charge an electric scooter or something. Hey. So yeah, we kind of I have to deal with all this, and this is we had to set these systems up, and it is pretty automated. But there's things that we can't do. Right, and it's not much. The hot tub is heated by wood pellets, completely automated, and we have the right systems in place. And it's not like you'd have to put firewood in the thing and heat it. It's just works off of. I actually have 1,000 gallon thermal storage in my house, which allows me to flywheel energy, and that's super nerdy. But we're not going to get into that. So anyway, yeah, it's possible. I don't recommend it to people, because most people aren't problem solvers, and then you have to spend a lot of time educating them on things. Right. And these are people who don't know what a kilowatt hour is yet. Right. So let's start with the energy monitor and go from there. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good question, I guess, how I kind of get into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've never paid a power bill in my life ever. Sorry.
Wow.
Sorry for that.
Good for you.
I did live in Fredericton for a year after I got married, but power was included. So I never got the bill. So ask me another question if you want. If we've got a bunch on here, and then we'll lead into. Actually, before we keep going, let's take a small break. I saw the 20-minute sign go up.
Great.